This section heading is called Yarn. So now the way that we're going to start this section off is by comparing the base modules that come with a Hadoop version 1 installation and compare them with Hadoop version 2. So with Hadoop version 1, what we're going to find is that MapReduce and HDFS are part of the base modules. So MapReduce is a programmable framework that's designed to tackle embarrassingly parallel tasks. And HDFS, well, HDFS can be formatted on commodity direct attached storage. So essentially what this means in terms of benefits is that we can do things really cheap and also do them really fast. Now if we take a look at the base modules that come with Hadoop version 2, what we're going to find is that Yarn is thrown into the mix. So Yarn stands for Yet Another Resource Negotiator. So we can run MapReduce jobs locally, as we've seen, and then the benefits come with Yarn. So if we run a MapReduce job inside of Yarn, we're going to have better resource and cluster management offered by this framework. So now the way that we're going to instruct Hadoop to run MapReduce jobs inside of Yarn is through configuration. So the first thing I'm having you do within the lab is to list the configuration directory once again. So that's Hadoop, etc, and then Hadoop. So inside of here, you're going to find a template. So we're going to use this template to create MapReduce site XML. So we're going to do copy, and then let me copy this path here rather than tab completing. So I'll copy, paste, and then it's MapReduce site XML template, paste again, and then it's MapReduce site XML template, but then I'm going to backspace over this. So this is basically just going to give us an XML shell, and then what we're going to do inside of here, as I said a moment ago, is we're going to instruct this Hadoop system to actually run MapReduce jobs inside of Yarn. So now, first thing, let's use Nano here and let's open the file up. And the reason for that is because I've got that kind of cached in there. So MapReduce site XML, and then I'm going to come down here, and then we're going to add some XML code to our configuration element. So here's the XML code that will instruct the system to run MapReduce jobs inside of Yarn. So by default, we saw that when we configured for sudo distributed mode, it wanted to run them locally. So now by adding this, we're going to run them in Yarn. So now I'm going to save and exit. Alright, so now the next file that we're going to need to edit is going to be this one right here. So now before I actually go in configure this one, I'm going to do a little bit more explaining. So now we said that the benefit of Yarn was resource and cluster management, essentially better resource and cluster management. So if we compare the old architecture, and I'm going to call it old architecture, but essentially we're running MapReduce jobs, right, using these daemons. So we're using the job tracker, task tracker. So all of your, essentially your management resided with this one daemon right here. So the way that Yarn basically improved cluster management and resource management was by replacing those two daemons with three daemons. So we now have a resource manager, node manager, and application master. And in doing so, it separated out those tasks that were handled by the job tracker and essentially delegated them to these daemons. So that's how it's able to offer better resource and cluster management. So now we're going to edit this file. So I'm going to hit the up arrow key over here, and we're going to now say yarn site XML. And then inside of here, we're going to add some XML code. All right, so let me do a little bit more explaining. So we saw that the two fundamental components of MapReduce were map and reduce, right? So your reducer has three primary phases. It has shuffle, sort, and reduce. So what we're going to do inside of here now, if we come over to the documentation, is we're going to add some XML code, and it's going to instruct the node manager to use or to shuffle for MapReduce. So by default, the node manager will not shuffle data for MapReduce jobs, and that's what we're essentially instructing it to do right here. So now I'm going to paste, and now we're going to save and exit once again, and then we're done.